So, Max Verstappen is a zero-time world champion, and all of the fake records that he has supposedly set, since the start of the 2021 season, none of them mean a thing. There's been murmurings over the past few weeks about the legality of that Red Bull car, and gradually more information is filtering through, albeit the mainstream media aren't. Because they don't. Because they lie. They've lied about Abu Dhabi 2021 and they've not revealed the truth ever since. The BBC's Andrew Benson has never told you the truth. Sky Sports F1, the contracted liars, will not tell you the truth about what is going on in this sport. The sport's governing body, the FIA, are pathological liars. Red Bull are pathological liars. So we're not going to get the truth through the mainstream. But we can see the evidence. I'm going to take you through TacticalRab F1 video. I'm going to put a link to that video in the description to this video. You'll see here, it's the one that says exposed. I'm going to play sections of that and analyse it. Beneath that one that says exposed is not Nui. And be clear about this, ladies and gentlemen. Nui is no genius. Nui is a cheat and a pathological liar. So, it's no loss about Nui. Everybody has been going on about, oh, Adrian Nui, the genius, No, you're a cheat. So, I'm going to have a look at this exposed video and show you what is being said. Here we go.
LP now, when he might retire.
Well, I'm going to rewind that to the beginning of it, play you the intro, and then fast forward to the bit where he analyses what is actually going on. Here we go.
Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 News. A massive update on this breaking drama that occurred over the last couple of weeks. Red Bull are not in the same place now that they were at the start of the season, and the rumour had it recently there was some asymmetric braking going on. There was a new rule added to the F1 regulations this year to say you could no longer do anything like that. The theory went, Red Bull were maybe doing something like that at the start of the season, and therefore they're not allowed to any longer. Sources today are saying yes, that is exactly what's happened. Some sort of inertial braking device giving the Red Bull remarkable stability in the corners in the early part of the season. That's now no longer the case. The car is no longer the car it was at the start of the season. What does this mean for the state of Formula 1 as it stands? Because if this was actually against the rules in some way at the start of the year, does it question the validity of those race results they had with the RB20 at the start of the season? Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below.
No, we don't need people's thoughts, and it's not a question. If that car was illegal, it's not a question of asking people what they think that means. Okay, I'll tell you what that means. It means that's illegal. You get disqualified from them events. Not only do you get disqualified from those events where you've cheated as a result of cheating, and cheating in a manner whereby it's blatant cheating, that you've hidden that you've cheated. Okay, you've breached the regulation to purposely gain a performance advantage. Cheating, there is a consequence for that. Now think about it this way. If you went and robbed a bank, you went into a bank with a weapon and demanded money, otherwise people would be harmed, and the bank handed you money, and then they found you, do they just say, oh, just give us the money back and it's all okay? Doesn't work like that, does it? No, there's a consequence. There's a penalty for your conduct. So we'll carry on and we'll see which events were definitely where they cheated at, and then what we will look at as the ongoing penalty for the 2024 season, but we'll also see the implications for 2022 and 2023. As of 2021, we know that Abu Dhabi was a fraud, and we also know that Red Bull breached the cost cap for the 2021 season, meaning that car was illegal for the 2021 season as well. We'll see what happens when a car is deemed illegal. And actually, I think I deserve. Well, not I. He deserves this. Okay, I'm going to play this part because I'm going to leave the link to his video in the description, and I would like all of you to go and watch this, please, on his channel so that he gets the credit for this breakdown. But let him say this.
Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new, as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into.
Okay, so please head across there and subscribe to his channel if you appreciate what he is saying. Okay, I think that is only fair because this is where the source of the information is coming from. So what he does, he talks about a few of the things that are being talked about in the motorsport publications, but now I've got forward to the bit where he starts talking about that Red Bull car, the illegal Red Bull car. So here we go.
Can't just fix that overnight. It's an overall characteristic thing that we've got to work on, but they do say they've got more important upgrades in the pipeline. They will need to bring some new things, as of course will Red Bull, and that's what we're going to talk about now, because teams points over 2024, this is what it looks like, and Red Bull started the season so well. This isn't even like Verstappen's tally, this is just Verstappen and Perez, but the gap between, let's say, Red Bull and McLaren after a few races, kind of even around about Miami, compared to where it is now.
So just look at this. We know that he'll go on to say the first 5 races of the season is what they claim Red Bull were competing with this illegal device. After that, they're supposed to have changed it. You look at the angle of the curve that's going up there, the angle of the line, the gradient of that is a lot steeper than the gradient of this. They're accumulating points at a much greater rate. By the end of that Chinese Grand Prix, after the 5th race of the season, they were on 200 points. They were all illegally gained points. You can deduct them 200 straight away from that total of 408. That takes them to 208. Oh, that drops them down here below 266 of the Mercedes. But these 3 teams, wow, them 200 points, well, they need to go somewhere, don't they? They need to be added on to these teams depending on who actually was the winner. So in some of those races where it was a Red Bull 1-2, there was a 25 points for the win, 18 points for second place. Well, some of those races were won now by third place, which was Ferrari, or it might have been a Mercedes, or it might have been a McLaren. So the teams that are in currently second, third and fourth, each of their tallies are going to significantly increase, whereas Red Bull's is going to come down to 208. I'm going to do a video and recalculate the season's totals, and we'll see who is leading the World Championship. You might be surprised. But we'll carry on with this one.
Now is drastically different. Most of that is Perez, but obviously a large part of that is merely the pure performance from Red Bull. Average performance, though, still favours Red Bull, right?
Well, average performance, if you factor across the entire season, of course it's going to favour Red Bull. But I do like some of his breakdown. I'm not going to criticise him.
Overall, over the course of the season, they've still had the fastest car. We've looked at the data before over the last couple of months, really, looking at where they were. Let me just turn down the brightness here 1 second. In China, for example, Verstappen was basically a second lap quicker than anybody else in the field. So the performance gap was absolutely unbelievable. But obviously, after
China, the 5th race of the season, he's a second a lap faster than everybody. And that was with the sprint event as well. Okay, so that's why he's got 33 points from the Chinese event. So again, we've got sprint events to take into consideration. So you get disqualified from the sprints as well.
After really China going into Miami, things have been different. I mean, Verstappen isn't a normal driver, so his results haven't been as good as they were at the start of the year.
Oh, he's looking a lot more normal when you take away all these victories that have been gained in an illegal car.
But have still been very good. If you look at Perez, he went from getting 18, 18, 10, 18, 21, 18 to 4, 0.
And that is key, isn't it? 18, 18, 10, 18, 21, 18. So where we got 18 there was at the Miami Grand Prix. The performance drop-off happened after Miami. Now, are we to say that, oh, it was after China, after 5 races, they had to change something? Well, They had to change something, and Perez still manages second place in that race. But then after that, 4-0, nothing, 4-7, nothing, 6-7. Well, it would say, looking at the data, that change, that drop off, happened after Miami.
47067.
And is the car the same? Did they rectify that on one car, but not the other? Because isn't it strange that, two cars within the same team, and yet there's a massive performance difference? Are we to say that both cars are identical? Or they're doing something on one car but not the other? 2022, similar thing happened. When it was reported that Red Bull and Ferrari have got a flexible plank, they're running a flexible plank. Are they using that as a mechanical damper as an anti-porpoising mechanism? Oh, that all went quiet. That got covered up as well. What we did get from the FIA is the new anti-porpoising directive, and all teams are going to be given 4 races with which to sort it out, in which to comply. Verstappen's performance in those 4 races were unaffected. Perez's performance in those 4 races dropped off a cliff. Wonder what was going on there. But apparently that was a loophole, a grey area. What, having movable parts of your car, movable parts of your bodywork, which are specifically outlawed in the regulations. But the genius, Adrian Newey, has found a loophole. He's found a grey area. No, it's called cheating. Cheated in the 2022 season. We look at the dominance that car had in the 2023 season. Everybody was eulogising about the genius Adrian Newey. Really? Really? Or is it just that the car's illegal? The car is illegal.
So, the gap between effectively Miami and for the rest of the season, even maybe, China to the rest of the season, has been drastic in terms of the overall Red Bull performance. And this is when the questions have been raised as to exactly what was going on. So, a couple of weeks ago now, we talked about this rumour that was mentioned during the
Are we sure that Red Bull have removed that device from Verstappen's car? Well, who knows? We'll have to go back through the footage. But again, he explained something here, which is actually interesting.
Hungarian Grand Prix weekends, that there was something discovered on the Red Bull car, and this apparently was a rumour that multiple teams were parroting behind the scenes in the paddock. There was something on the Red Bull car that was problematic, discovered to be illegal, was the rumour at the time, that was asked to be removed, and therefore their performances dropped off. And even Red Bull themselves have hinted at this. Most of their engineers will tell you, oh, well, no, the other team's just caught up, like, we haven't regressed, it's just the other team has got better. The data doesn't, in my opinion, really fully validate that. Like,
you don't have to give an opinion, okay? The data will say what the data says. Okay, so you don't have to caveat that with the notion of in your opinion. The data clearly shows something, and that is a clear difference. Okay, the data, the actual performance differential between that Red Bull car and that differential it had between the Red Bull car and the other competitors at the start of the season, and the manner in which those cars are now either similar in performance or better in performance, well, that doesn't make sense. And just the notion of the other teams catching up through evolution of their design, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't hold true according to the data. The data shows a performance decline from Red Bull. A performance decline. That is what the data shows. And it's not about opinions. That is what the data shows.
Maybe on some level, but that clearly Ferrari and Mercedes and McLaren, if you look at the data, they haven't caught up half a second to a second overnight. Like, that's just not happened. Red Bull have regressed to some degree. There's really, in my opinion, there's no doubt about it. I don't think it can.
Okay, we don't need to use the terms my opinion. There is no doubt about it. Let's start just be talking facts, okay, and have the confidence to talk facts. Okay, they will try to lie. Teams like Horner, liars like Horner, like Briatore, They will go, oh, if you say that, I'll take legal action. Take legal action. You're lying. So you come at me, I will take it at you. I will prove in a court of law that you are pathological liars and you will pay the consequence. And that goes to Red Bull. Every single one of those pathological lying scum at Red Bull and the FIA, come at me. I dare you.
Be just the other teams caught up. So then a few days later we saw this. This is in Article 11 of the regulations on the brake system, and there was this additional clause or whatever added into the regulations. Any system or mechanism which can produce systematically or intentionally asymmetric braking torques for a given axle is forbidden. Now the interesting thing is the first part of this phrase basically already says this, right? The brake system must be designed so that the forces applied to the brake pads are the same magnitude and act as opposing pairs. So
there you go. These things are already in the regulations. The FIA gaslight the situation by pretending, oh, we've now written in there something new to clarify the situation, just so that all teams are aware that this is now what needs to happen. No, that already needed to happen and was already covered with the original wording.
to me, that's pretty clear cut, that you can't have asymmetric braking, the magnitude of the force must be the same on both sides. And the second part says, if you
And anybody that tries to argue otherwise, you are corrupt. You are trying to present a corrupt argument to validate your cheating. That's the kind of scum that you are.
have a system that does that, that's forbidden. But it's like, you've already said that's forbidden. So to me, if someone was...
And you don't need to say to you, to everybody of integrity in this world, that is what it is. That is what it is. You have corrupt validators. You have the strap-on fanboy. They'll try to argue. But they're scum too. Desire-driven motives. Unwilling to play by rules that govern everybody, that are there for a purpose, that are there for fairness. They don't want that. They want what they want. And they don't care how they get it. Scum.
was doing something that counters the point in purple, they were already doing something to counter the point in black. So, you know, if it was against the rules now, I feel like it was still against the rules a few races ago. But
it was. Okay, you don't need to feel it was.
Intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. The question then was, what was this about? Was anyone doing this? Or was this just somebody put in a request and said, hey, we think somebody might be doing this, so maybe have a look at it? Or was there an argument that actually, no, somebody was doing this, and therefore there was questions as to who was doing this and who it might have been? Of course, the speculation was it Red Bull, right? Because the way they started their season to the way that it's going now, very different. Max hasn't won a race in like the last 4 rounds. That's absolutely unheard of over the last 3 seasons.
Funny that, isn't it? Funny that. Oh, but we're told it's Supermax, the best you've ever seen. And every journalist from every publication is going with that narrative. Everybody's telling you, oh, this is incredible. Nobody is questioning what's going on here. This is unusual. We've not seen this level of dominance before. Is everything above board? Who was asking those questions? No, they were telling you, oh, it's because Max Verstappen is so good and Adrian Newey is such a genius. Oh, it's brilliant. Everybody, you're watching something that's amazing. Really? Really? Not a single journalist anywhere could question what was actually going on. Not a single journalist anywhere. All they could do is fluff the Red Bull driver, fluff the Red Bull designer. That's strange, isn't it? No authenticity within any journalist. Within any journalist. They are paid validators, paid to condition your mind to believe what they are being paid to condition your mind with. Let that sink in.
Now we have a new update from Racing News 365 today, because I said when we talked about this a couple of videos ago, week and a half, whatever it was, that journalists will have heard about this, right? It will be around the press.
Yeah, journalists have heard about this. They know about Abu Dhabi 2021. If they weren't intelligent enough to work it out for themselves, I have sent them many emails, given them a full breakdown of what took place. They're aware of my YouTube channel. They're aware of my videos. Somebody is throwing a lot of money at YouTube to suppress my content. My last video reached 27,000 views within 8 hours, and then views have dropped off a cliff. What's going on there then, YouTube? What's going on there, YouTube? Who is paying you to not recommend my videos to a new audience? Why is me exposing the fraud of Abu Dhabi 2021 being suppressed? This is what's happening.
The question is, does anyone hear enough from sources to actually want to publish anything about it? And today we finally get a publication that is willing to talk about it, because here we go from Racing News 365, and Paolo Filicetti is talking about this, and as we scroll down on the left-hand side, they talk through the information, the details, and some of the discussion that we...
Oh, Christian Horner says, oh, you can't talk about that. You can't accuse us of that, otherwise I'll take legal action against you. Okay, Christian, you're a pathological liar. Christian, you told us that Red Bull didn't breach the budget cap. Oh, but you did though, didn't you, Christian? Christian Horner, you, along with Jonathan Wheatley... Hang on a minute. Let me just show you a picture. Here it is. You, Christian Horner, along with the man next to you, Adrian Newey, along with Jonathan Wheatley, just the other side of Checo there, are pathological liars. So, Newey, are you being rewarded with £100 million contract to go to Aston Martin? A pathological cheat and liar being rewarded with a multi-million dollar contract? Jonathan Wheatley, a pathological cheat and liar, being rewarded by becoming the team principal of Audi. Is this how this corrupt world works? Is this how this corrupt world works? And this is the clear evidence of them being liars and cheats. This is evidence. This is the fact, as recorded by the FIA on their documentation released to the world, that Jonathan Wheatley, Christian Horner and Adrian Newey were permitted to attend the Mercedes appeal in Abu Dhabi 2021 and present a corrupt argument in order to maintain that corrupt result of Abu Dhabi 2021. That is the factual evidence of the fact that they are corrupt. I'm not asking you for your opinion. I'm not asking you what you think in the comment section or whether you think they are or not. They categorically are. And Audi, if you actually do go through with employing Wheatley, there is going to be consequences for you. Take my word for it. But just whilst we're away from the video, the FIA are pathological liars too. I'm going to evidence some of the things that they've done. I've already have. They cheated. The governing body of the sport cheated the global watching audience at Abu Dhabi 2021. And I'm going to do further videos exposing their out and out absolute corruption. The evidence, I have it. They are pathological liars It is a corrupt organisation. They are fraudulent. So, if you think that I am saying something libelous, the FIA, you know where to find me. You know where to find me. Anyway, back to the original video. So we'll just let him continue and finish off what he was saying about this illegal Red Bull car and who's reporting on it.
We've just had on the changes. This is though where they go on to the next discussion on what this actually means. And let me make sure this is kind of fully on screen just about. There we go. From Racing News 365 sources, it appears that the RB20 up until the Chinese Grand Prix, so literally every Grand Prix they dominated, Miami onwards, not the case at all, mounted an inertial valve on the braking system section at the rear, downstream of the brake-by-wire system. So this is getting now very specific on what Red Bull apparently have done. So in practice, a valve with a T connection received a single hydraulic pressure directed to the rear axle by the brake-by-wire, which could then be precisely directed with greater pressure to the left or right of the rear axle, depending on the way the car was turning through a corner. So maybe this is the loophole that Red Bull were exploiting, because
it's not a loophole. Let's not refer to these things as a loophole. It's cheating. Okay, let's not use the term grey area or loophole. They are terms that have been invented to validate something that is wrong. It's something that a fancy lawyer will be able to come up with to magic up this proposal. A fancy lawyer. Well, somebody who is being paid money to fabricate a corrupt argument so that somebody with the money that's paying them can evade consequence for wrongdoing. That's the way the law works. If you've got enough money, the law works differently for you. You can pay someone to construct you a invalid, corrupt argument that the law, in some circumstances, may choose to accept. Rather strange that, isn't it? Rather strange that.
They're having a single pressure, but then they would direct it with a different pressure to the left or the right side. So let's look at the regulations again real quick that say the forces applied to the brake pads must be of the same magnitude.
There you go. There you go.
So, like, I don't see, I know the colours are messing up, I still don't know what's going on there exactly, but I don't see how, if this was against the rules now with this additional purple bit, it must have been against the rules before, right? So, like,
yes, absolutely right there.
Like, am I not reading this right? Like,
no, you are.
I mean, if this is true, and this is now more detail than we've ever had before on the matter, that apparently, according to sources,
No, the reality is, we'll probably never find out. Because the FIA aren't going to tell us, and Red Bull aren't going to tell us, but the data tells a story. The data doesn't lie, does it? The data shows a performance drop-off. There'll also be evidence, which he's going to go on to, about what we actually see with Verstappen's car handling, Verstappen's driving. These things don't lie. Who do lie? Human beings. Those pathological liars at Red Bull, those pathological liars at the FIA that just facilitate the Red Bull victories.
Sources, behind the scenes information, whatever, take it with a grain of salt, but this is sources, not even just source, this is sources that apparently are saying that they've been able to provide different braking magnitudes to the different, you know, axle at the rear part of the car, which is a massively important deal. I mean, McLaren managed to do this with the third pedal back in the 90s, and they said that it gained them about half a second a lap, which, let's be honest, that was basically Red Bull's advantage over the last couple of years. So, you know, depending on which way the car was turning through a corner, and this is, as they go on to say, it is correct to point out that the inertial valve is not part of the components supplied to the team by the manufacturer of the braking system. So this is their own components that they've come up with that no other team has. Furthermore, the inertial valve only has its function when the car approaches the corner entry phase, since in a straight line at the start of the braking action, the pressure between the right and left remains identical, with the sphere placed exactly at the centre of the T. Having said that, it should be clarified that the advantages of such a system are concentrated above all in the handling of the car. Cornering precision becomes absolute and understeer disappears. These are traits the RB20 has progressively lost from Miami onwards, something not even subsequent upgrades have managed to remedy. Even Helmut Marko the other day said, our car does not have the balance that it did at the start of the season.
Well, we've all seen it. Well, it doesn't affect the straight line performance of the car. No, but that was incredible, wasn't it? That was incredible. That was because Adrian Newey is the genius of the ground effect. Or is it because of the power output? Because in the past, when we talked about how fast Formula One cars were, we always talked about the power of the power unit. You know, back in the day when Nigel Mansell was winning the World Championship, he had that Renault V10 engine, which was the best engine on the grid because it produced the most power. Okay, throughout the years, throughout the seasons, it's always been described as which is the most powerful engine. That makes you have the fastest car. But we get to the Red Bull era, and we've forgotten about the engines. We've forgotten about what produces the power that makes them go fast in a straight line. The narrative switched to, oh, it's Adrian Newey, the genius of the ground effect aerodynamics. That they decided to adopt that. That they knew that he had got the experience of. Oh, and he just happens to work for Red Bull. And Red Bull, there's supposed to be a freeze on engine development, because Red Bull were being disadvantaged because Honda were leaving the sport, and they didn't want one team to be disadvantaged and be left behind in the engine stakes. So Honda left the sport. Who's to say they weren't doing their development outside of the sport? And then after eventually decided to come back into the sport at the 2022 Japanese Grand Prix, the home of Honda, when the rules were again fast-tracked, so that Max is declared world champion of 2022 yet again, at the Japanese Grand Prix, where Honda made a return to the sport. Oh, yeah, couldn't make it up, could you? Yeah, but it's not the Honda engine that's the most powerful. When there was no supposed development of the engines, it's nothing to do with the engine or whether that Red Bull powertrains. Is it Red Bull powertrains or is it Honda? Nobody knows. Yeah, don't think about whether they've developed that engine legally or in accordance with the agreements made by the teams. Just think about Adrian Newey's genius. What a genius Adrian Newey is for designing an illegal car. An illegal car.
Like, you can't tell me it's the same car they have now as they had at the start of the year, in my opinion. And, this indication says that. In any case, were Red Bull using such a system from the start of the year, it would have been completely legal given the wording of the technical regulations at the time, and there would be no basis for an FIA action. So that's what they say.
Yeah. Why have the FIA decided to amend the regulations with the bit in purple? Oh, we need to clarify it. Well, why do you need to clarify it? Is it because some teams are breaching what you originally put, so you're having to clarify what it actually means? And if they're breaching what you originally put, well, they're cheating then, aren't they? Oh, but maybe they didn't understand what we meant by that, so we won't punish them. We'll just tell them not to do it from now on. Oh, is that the best you can do, is it? Is that the best you can do, the FIA?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the read of the regulations. I'm not an expert on the way these regulations should be.
Yeah, no, you are. We all are. We can all read, okay, and we can all comprehend information. What we will come up against is liars, corrupt individuals who will try to gaslight us, to try to convince us that we don't know what it is that we're reading. Oh, silly you won't be able to understand that. This actually can be interpreted like this to enable their cheating. No, it can't. It's quite clear. Just like those safety car regulations in 2021. You look at the purpose, you look at the implications, you look at the consequence. It's quite clear that there is no alternative interpretation, and yet the corrupt FIA side with the corrupt Red Bull and go, oh yes, it's clear that there's some confusion here. Let me just give you an example of this. So this is the FIA's official report into the Abu Dhabi fix, and it's got the safety car and lapping procedure. The safety car and lapping procedure was a central topic of discussions during the detailed analysis and clarification exercise, stemming from the misunderstanding regarding the application of this procedure at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, pursuant to Articles 48.12 and 48.13 of the sporting regulations. It was apparent from the analysis that there could be different interpretations of Article 48.12. No, there can't. Because when you follow through the consequence of interpreting it the Red Bull way, you realise that that's invalid. If a proposed interpretation produces an invalid outcome, then that proposed interpretation is wrong. It's quite simple, isn't it? It is quite simple. So don't try and claim, oh yeah, it's just confusing and it's apparent there could be different interpretations, because that is what liars do to try to get away with their corruption. And you get corrupt lawyers trying to seek to present that as being valid. And this is what needs eradicating from this world. Corrupt individuals seeking to argue corruptly for their own purpose. So I'm going to go through all that at some point again, just to expose just how corrupt they are. This whole scum of an organisation, the FIA, is a global fraudulent entity. They are the biggest load of scum imaginable, and they facilitate that scummy enterprise, Red Bull. Anyway, back to TacticalRab. I have to say, fair play to this guy for saying what he's saying. I hope that he can be more confident in saying what he's saying with more conviction. Now, with this presentation, we are relying on second-hand information. We will not get this information from the FIA, from Red Bull. They are liars. So, all we can go on is, oh, an insider says, oh, a whistleblower says. We don't know even who they are. All we do know, we've also got to be skeptical on the grounds that media lie. Media lie. They've lied about Abu Dhabi, so who do we trust? I can prove Abu Dhabi. I don't need an insider saying, oh, somebody has revealed that Abu Dhabi was fixed. The evidence demonstrates it was fixed. 100%. The evidence demonstrates it was fixed. Every facet of it was fixed. The evidence demonstrates that. So I don't need a insider, a whistleblower, sources say. I don't need that. On things like this, we can look at the data and we can try to discover, well, what is causing that data to show what it is showing us. And then we get, oh, supposed leaked information. Supposedly somebody's now saying this is what is going on. Well, does that make sense? Well, it kind of does, doesn't it? And when you correlate the performance drop off, what the data's showing, The fact that the FIA have amended the regulations in that specific manner, well, you have to say it's highly likely there's some sort of validity to what is now being said, isn't there? Which means Max Verstappen is a 0-time world champion.
Read to comment on whether it would have been legal or not. But if this is true, it is incredible, is it not? Because if they were using it now, then were they not using it last year as well? But this is the most clear information.
Were they not using it last year as well? How long have they been using it? Well, these regulations came in 2022, 2023. We're now in 2024. This is the third year. Max Verstappen was handed that championship in 2021 through systematic cheating. We then had the change of regulations with a developed car that was developed in the cost cap budget era that they breached, meaning that this developed car, the 2022 car, the basis of it was illegal. It was developed over budget. And then that illegal machine was then improved upon year on year. So you've gained on that illegal gain that you already had without consequence. Without consequence.
Information that we've ever had really so far on exactly what Red Bull were doing, because using this, kind of loophole in a way to asymmetrically break the rear axle.
It's not a loophole. Do not describe it as a loophole. It is a cheat. The rules specifically prevent you from doing that. The rules demand that you are not allowed to do that. So anything that you come up with, which the net effect of it produces that, is illegal. It's not a loophole. It's not a grey area. The rules say that you can't have asymmetric braking. It's got to be equal braking force. If you introduce a device where it introduces unequal braking force, you're cheating. There is no loophole.
When you watch that Red Bull over the last couple of years, it seems unbelievably stable through the corners, right? It's like absolutely on rails, never really understeer or oversteer moments. Like if you watch some of Verstappen's pole laps from the start of this season, there's no corrections needed to be made.
Because that's Max Verstappen, the best driver you've ever seen. That's Max Verstappen. And that's Adrian Newey, the genius of ground effects, and Max Verstappen. That's what we were told.
It's different now. You watch a Verstappen lap at the moment, it's a different story. Verstappen's complaining in Hungary about the understeer of the car and stuff like this. So, I don't know. To me, the kind of anecdotal evidence of what I've watched with my own eyes this season
Trust your own eyes. Trust your own eyes.
Backs up what is being said there, and it's incredible if this is true, but also it's incredible if this does become more well known and people start talking about it more and the other teams start talking about it more. What might they say about the situation? Just because if I'm another team and it comes out that Red Bull have been using this loophole in the braking to...
Don't call it a loophole. If they've cheated, you disqualify the cheats. Simple. That's what you do in sport. Oh, but not Formula One. Alonso still has that Singapore Grand Prix trophy from 2008.
To gain a massive competitive advantage for the start of this season and maybe last year and the year before as well. Honestly, at this point, who even knows?
Do you think Red Bull are going to admit it? Do you think Red Bull are going to say, oh yeah, we used that in 2023 as well? Do you think the 2023 car is having that all stripped out of it right now? I wonder.
Maybe it technically was legal, so there's no basis for an FIA sanction, but Max is probably going to win this driver's title with a car which is now illegal, but wasn't illegal apparently a few rounds ago. So, I don't know, man. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section. Of course, the car now isn't illegal because they had to change things. What I mean is the car that they had at the start of the season, the Max was getting pole position, race win, fastest lap, etc., is... That car that you had at the time, apparently, is now no longer legal in the...
So, that's why I waited for him to actually clarify that. He said it wrong initially, but then he corrected himself. You're running an illegal car for at least the first 5 races of this season, at least the first 5 races. We see that drop off in Perez's car after the 6th race. We don't see the same magnitude of drop off with Max's car. Have Red Bull remove that component from Max's car? Will the FIA tell us? Will the FIA even check Max's car? I don't trust them. How can you trust an organisation that you know is corrupt, that are factually corrupt, evidenceably corrupt to the core, rotten, scum, fraudulent entity, the FIA, rotten. You cannot trust them to tell the world the truth about what is going on with that Red Bull car. You cannot trust them.
Regulations as they're currently written a few rounds later. So, crazy stuff. I don't think this should maybe be a massive surprise on what we've seen over the last couple of years. I think there was always got to be something going on. Like the performance advantage Red Bull had last year, this year was so ridiculous that there had to be something, and apparently this was the something. So, intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Just before we close out,
So, I would like for those of you that have enjoyed listening to what he has to say to go over to his channel, and if you've not already subscribed, please subscribe to his channel. Okay, he deserves the credit for producing that video. So please go and show your support for it, and by all means watch that video in full on his channel. Now, just to conclude on this video, what does this mean for this season? Well, they're saying that the first 5 races, Bahrain through to China, pole position, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Max Verstappen. Fastest lap, well, 2 of them fastest laps were Max Verstappen. And the winning driver, well, 4 of those races, Max Verstappen. So we've got some fastest laps. That's a point for the fastest laps. I think the Chinese Grand Prix was also a sprint race, which I think Max Verstappen won as well. So I think that's 8 points for a sprint and 2 points for the 2 fastest laps. 25 points for the win. So that's 110 points from them first 5 races for Max Verstappen. And for some of those races, Perez finished second. So you take 110 points away from this season. So let's have a look on the BBC's website. You take away 110 points from Max Verstappen's total. That brings him down to 167 points this season. And that's assuming, and that's trusting, that he was legal ever since the Chinese Grand Prix. So from Miami onwards, we've got to trust the notion that from then onwards, Red Bull were legal. And I don't trust that. I never will trust this corrupt regime and that corrupt Red Bull team. 167 points is now what he has when you deduct those 110. But what you're not doing yet is redistributing the 25 points for the win and the 18 points for second place in the races where Perez came second to Norris, Leclerc, Piastri, Sainz, who Sainz has finished third in a couple of those races, to those 2 Red Bull cars. So when you add them extra points to Sainz's total, well, where's he going to be? All of those drivers in the top. Fernando Alonso in 9th is a fair bit behind. His totals are going to increase. Okay, but I don't think he's going to get up to the level where I don't think he's going to get up to the 100-point mark. But you take away 110 points from Max Verstappen, bringing him down to 167 points this season, and that's assuming that they're valid. And you add on, well, you take away Perez's points as well, so he's going to drop below Russell. It's likely that Russell, Hamilton, Sainz, Piastri, Leclerc, and Norris are going to be the top 6. Max Verstappen, I don't think he's even going to get into the top 6. You'll see in my next video whether he's in the top 6 or whether it's going to be a toss-up between Russell and Verstappen, who fills that 6th position in this year's championship. But what does this mean for Max Verstappen's career? Oh, in fact, actually, whilst we're on the BBC webpage, let's see what Andrew Benson, the BBC's chief, has to say about this scandal. So let's go back to the Formula One latest. And what does Andrew have to say about it? Oh, nothing. Nothing. Just that Wheatley is to leave Red Bull for the Audi team principal job. You know, that corrupt individual, Jonathan Wheatley, pathological liar and cheat, Jonathan Wheatley is becoming the Audi team principal. Audi, I strongly suggest that that doesn't happen. There will be consequences. But what does this mean for Max Verstappen's career? Well, it means this. 2021, that Red Bull was illegal. It was over budget for the season. One of the regulations was the financial fair play rules, the budget cap. Okay? The budget cap for the season. If you breach that, if you breach the rules, you get disqualified. Let me give you an example of this. At the 2021 Brazilian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton was adjudicated to have breached the regulations. Okay? Breach of Article 3.6.3 of the FIA Formula One technical regulations. So you've got financial regulations, you've got sporting regulations, you've got technical regulations. Car 44 is disqualified from the results of qualifying. So the car used in qualifying for that Brazilian Grand Prix was found by the FIA to have breached their regulations. And the consequence for breaching their regulations was to disqualify that car, relegating it, essentially leaving it with no qualifying time and therefore making it the 20th competitor, relegating it to the back of the grid because it had no time. Its time was disqualified. Red Bull cheated in 2021 by breaching the budget cap. They are disqualified from the entire season. And that's without them being gifted Abu Dhabi 2021. So 10 supposed wins of the 2021 season to that illegal Red Bull car, one of which was the Belgian parade, which didn't even meet the FIA's regulations as qualifying as even the start of a race, and yet they declared a winner of it. One of it was the Abu Dhabi fix of 2021, where the FIA lied about breaking their own rules, facilitated it, lied in their steward's appeal, were completely corrupt, and then did a nice report about it where they lied as well. Total fraudulent entity. But there's the so-called 10 Max Verstappen wins. All of them are going to be wiped out. 2022, the car was developed during that 2021 season as well, so that's an over-budget car. And we're now being made aware that it's got an illegal component. For how long it's had that illegal component? Well, look at that performance differential. And it's only now that the other teams can match Adrian Newey's genius, since that performance component has been identified and supposedly been removed. Strange that, isn't it? Look at the evidence. Look at what is going on. Look at how that car handles in the hands of Max Verstappen, the greatest driver you've ever seen. Oh, is he still driving like that? Or is he driving an illegal car with driver aids? Can he only drive like that when he's got driver aids? Because he's that good, the best you've ever seen, that can only do it when he's got illegal driver aids. Strange that, isn't it? Strange that. So all these records, the record-breaking 2022 season, the record-breaking 2023 season, the first 4 victories that he got in the 2024 season, over the course of those 3 and a bit seasons, Max Verstappen, incredibly, won apparently 48 races. they're all going to be chalked off. They're all going to be distributed to other drivers. So other drivers who came second or third in the events where Perez came second, they're going to be upgraded to wins. And what does that all mean? What does that all mean? It means the likes of Lewis Hamilton. Here's 105. Well, that's going to substantially increase because he finished second or third to those Red Bull cars on numerous occasions. So his victory tally is going to go up, as is the other competitors, such as it might be Bottas in 2021, might have been him finishing behind Verstappen or Perez. But we've got to look at Charles Leclerc, we've got to look at Carlos Sainz, we've got to look at Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri perhaps. Whoever else may have finished second or third to those Red Bull cars. They're going to be race winners. Max Verstappen here, 61 recorded race wins. Well, you take away 48 of those, which are illegal. Well, he's now sitting on 13 race wins. 13 race wins. Well, where does that put him in the standings of the greatest drivers? Well, he's down here in 23rd, along with the likes of Alberto Ascari and DC. David Coulthard. That's the level of your boy Strap-on. That's the level of him. Coulthard. David Coulthard. Okay, Strap-on fanboys? Your boy who's been in the sport 11 years. And he's about as good as David Coulthard. Enjoy. But don't just take my word for it. You know, the esteemed expert of Formula One and presented, yes, he's been a former team principal, I believe, and journalist, and very well respected person within Formula One, Peter Windsor, you know, the guy that likes to fluff Verstappen with Cameron there. Peter Windsor has tweeted, looks as though Red Bull Racing might have been running a clever rear cross brake inertia valve before they were obliged to remove it before Miami. This could explain Max RR brake drama in MEL and turning grief since China. So Peter, the esteemed Peter Windsor, you think that's a clever thing, do you? Red Bull running a clever rear, that's called cheating, Peter. Yeah, because you fluff Adrian Newey as well. Oh, the genius, Adrian. You fluff him, don't you? And you fluff Max Verstappen. Oh, they might have been running a clever rear cross brake inertia valve. That's called cheating, Peter. But you're validating that, aren't you? But you'll like that because the strap-on fanboy will read that and they'll go, oh, maybe that's a grey area. Maybe that's a loophole. If I describe it like that, do I get what I want? It's not about that, is it? It's about integrity. It's about rules. It's about what is right and what is wrong. And sadly, in this world, we have corrupt entities that don't give a shit about that. All they care about is getting what they want, regardless of anybody else. That is the kind of people that we're dealing with in this world. Absolute scum, of which you are fluffing scum, Peter Windsor, as are you, your chum, Cameron F1. Oh, Max Verstappen, how can he do it? He's incredible. Is Max mind blown? But strap on fanboys, I'm not interested in what you think or what you have got to say. Because believe it or not, that is what they want. They want you to argue with me. They want people to fight. They know that you can't accept it. They know that you don't have the integrity because you are probably racist, okay? You don't like Lewis Hamilton because you don't like people with brown skin. And so you will rather go, ha 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 ha, my guy won. I hate your guy anyway. I hate Lewis Hamilton. I hate him. I hate him so much that even I will validate cheating of my guy just so that it beats Lewis Hamilton. That's who you are. That's the kind of scum who you are. But you are being incited. Okay, you're being encouraged to do that. They know the dynamic. This picture sums it up. Careful, that foreigner wants your cookie. It incites you, doesn't it? Because you don't have the brain to see what is actually going on. That's just one example. Let me see if this one helps. The elite watching us start a civil war instead of a revolution. This is what has taken place since 2021. They released some stuff for people to argue about. They set social media alight. They caused the conflict. They caused the hatred. And yet they're the ones that are continually being corrupt and making the money out of the situation. They are profiting from the dynamics of this situation. They're not being held to account for it. Those people that are there, that are paid to enforce the laws, aren't doing so. And it is us who are the ones who are encouraged to conflict. And I'm just coming out with what the truth is. The truth of Abu Dhabi 2021, which I can factually evidence, which I have factually evidenced. And what this video is, well, I am not factually evidencing it. I'm showing you what is being presented by TacticalRab F1, and it makes total sense. The evidence of the performance drop-off of that Red Bull car in comparison with what has gone on, what the FIA has done with this update to the technical regulation, as it did when it 2022 it clarified the anti-porpoising measures. Wonder what was going on there for them to have to clarify the regulations back in, or introduce new anti-porpoising measures back in 2022. They have to do that when somebody's cheating and they dress it up as something else. This is what the corrupt do. They dress it up as something else. They pretend, they gaslight you. They tell you that, oh, silly you wouldn't understand. No, it's just a misunderstanding. You wouldn't understand it anyway. But now we've corrected it now, and we've just clarified it. Now it didn't need correcting. It just needed clarification. But now it's all been clarified. Everything's okay. Carry on. Move along. It's all okay. But I'm here to tell you that it's not okay. It's not okay. And some people are going down in a big way. Audi, if you employ that man Wheatley, there's going to be consequences. The genius, Adrian Newey, is a cheat. Aston Martin, you're employing a cheat if you've given this man a contract. A cheat. There'll be consequences for that as well. And as for that scum Horner, well, that lying, gaslighting scum Horner, there's going to be consequences for him too. There's going to be consequences for everybody who perpetrated Abu Dhabi 2021. The fraud. That includes Toto Wolff. Don't go thinking Toto Wolff's a man of integrity. If you do think Toto Wolff's a man of integrity, watch the video that's going to come up as the link in the screen now. You'll see exactly what Toto Wolff truly is. Anyway, thank you for watching this one. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps the algorithm, and hopefully it will help more and more people to see the content of this channel, which is exposing the truth about Abu Dhabi 2021. A global fraud where everybody within the sport was complicit. Every form of media has lied to just parrot the narrative, and you have not heard the truth of this matter anywhere. But you're going to hear it here. Thank you for your time.